Acadiana. It is Friday, February 19th, 2021, and you're listening to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate. Their team of journalists print the stories important to our community and state, and we are happy to read you some of those stories. You can hear Local News Live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on AOC 1, the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube, and on Cypress Street Radio at aocinc.org/CS Radio. You can find the print versions of these stories and more at theadvocate.com. We couldn't bring you this community service without the generosity of our volunteer news readers. Today, we're joined by Bruce Cohen all the way from... Bruce, are we disclosing your location, or are you in a witness protection?
Sure. Yeah, you certainly can. Marietta, Georgia.
Well, Bruce, thank you for joining us. We're so glad to have you back. We hope the move was, super successful and smooth. And I look forward to hearing you read the news this morning.
Well, thank you, my main man, Matt.
Well, I'm going to go listen on Cypress Street.
Thank you, Matt. Well, good morning, Acadiana. It's nice to be back. Since we've been doing the news almost over a year now, close to a year, through our home studios. Even though I am just a few states away in Georgia, I'm able to read the news to you this morning. So I'm happy for that and happy to be back reading the news. And so as always, we will start with Acadiana stories for this Friday, February 19th, 2021. Lafayette poised for bar reopenings. If positivity remains low, Mayor President would have option by Ben Meyer staff writer. Lafayette Parish positivity rate for coronavirus infections improved dramatically in the second week of February, and Lafayette appears poised to become eligible to resume limited indoor bar service next week. Positivity in Lafayette dropped from 6.2% to 3.8% from February 3rd to February 10th, according to the Louisiana Department of Health's latest figures. Bars may reopen at 25% capacity in parishes where positivity is below 5% for 2 straight weeks. Parishes must opt in to do so by formally notifying state authorities. Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory previously opted to allow bars to open in late September, soon after Governor John Bell Edwards announced a policy. But Lafayette was illegally required to shut down again 2 months later when positivity exceeded 5% for 2 weeks in a row. Guillory has already shut down local enforcement of state restrictions. By the time the fall-winter infection surge pounded the Acadiana area, and dozens of establishments in the parish skirted bar restrictions by obtaining conditional restaurant licenses from the state. The state reports positivity every Wednesday with a week lag. The next report on February 24th will determine positivity for the week ending on February 17th. Guillory spokesperson Jamie Angel said he had not yet spoken with Guillory about opting into bar reopenings. Acadia is the only parish in the 7-parish Acadiana region eligible for limited indoor bar service. St. Landry Parish, where positivity dipped to 4.7% in the most recent report, could also become eligible next week. Acadiana's recovery from the prolonged seasonal surge picked up steam this month, and the improvement has been especially dramatic in Lafayette, the region's largest parish. Lafayette now sports the region's lowest positivity rate. COVID-19 hospitalizations in Acadiana remain elevated compared with early fall, but week over week, reductions are continuing at a healthy clip. There were 69 COVID-19 inpatients in the region as of February 17th, marking a 32% decrease from February 10th on October 17th, from February 10th on October 17th, a few days before sustained rises in hospitalizations. There were 45 COVID-19 inpatients in the region. Okay, moving on to our next story. There's only so much you can do. Demands for plumbers spikes in Acadiana as freeze grips region by Adam Daigle, Acadiana business editor. The website at Hargraves Plumbing indicates the staff serves customers in the greater Acadiana region. But this week, owner Travis Hargrave got a call from a customer in Houston. That was pretty shocking for me, he said. I would imagine it's not the last one I'll get. Plumbers in Acadiana and throughout the region are swamped with calls from customers with leaky pipes or other issues as freezing temperatures continue to blanket the area. The weather has taken its toll on pipes in homes and in businesses already this week, and more sub-freezing temperatures are in the forecast Friday and Saturday. The Friday forecast called for 27-degree temperatures by sunrise, with similar temperatures predicted for Saturday morning. The staff at Ronnie Frisbee Plumbing in Lafayette is already handling twice the normal call volume this week, said owner Taylor Boudreau. He has 5 employees and has gone out for a call to help out. Monday, we had a full day. The guys are working all day, plus overtime. Boudreau said Tuesday until Thursday, it's been as soon as I hang up with somebody, I'm pretty much on the phone with someone else. I'll tell people all the time, we're going to do the best we can and knock them down as they come in. People want them fixed ASAP, as soon as possible, but that's not necessarily the case when you don't have 40 to 50 trucks. And once the temps get above freezing, that's when the problems show up. When it thaws out, anytime the temperature gets above 32, I usually get 5 calls an hour, Hargrave said. They just kind of pour in because everybody all of a sudden realizes they've got big problems. At CJ's Plumbing Repair in Lafayette, owner Blair Goulaw has tried to post videos on how people can identify problems and what to do. It could help the office, which has also been inundated with calls. The challenge, he noted, is trying to prioritize. You have a limit, so I try to get to the most severe cases first, Goulaw said. A mother with 3 kids, she's pregnant and about to be induced and about 2 weeks overdue. That's one of those jobs that takes priority over the others. It's really to get people really in a bind taken care of. How do you prioritize hundreds of emergencies? That's the struggle. There have been lots of calls to homes on a crawl space with broken pipes and even newer homes with breaks in the slab or inside the walls, Boudreau said. Many businesses are reporting issues with a backflow prevention valve, a sign that there's a frozen pipe somewhere along the line. I'm leaving a job where we did break a slab in a home, Boudreau said Thursday. We've done our fair share of gas lines as well. Those have been breaking. A lot of the pipes in the southern area are mainly galvanized, which obviously rust. You can only prevent it to a certain extent. When it gets so cold, there's only so much you can do. People can still keep the water dripping in their faucets and keep the cabinets open to minimize the risk, experts say. Homes off the ground should have a skirting to keep the cold air out, and then in the space then draws heat from the floor inside the home. Even the outdoor faucets can be problematic, Goulaw said. You can buy coverings for those or simply use a piece of swimming noodle to cover as a layer of insulation. For people that have lasted this long and nothing has happened, evidently they're doing something right, Goulaw said. They're on the right track. They should be safe for the next couple of nights. For the ones who've had problems thus far, whatever they did, they might add some more protection. If they're busted, they'll be at risk to bust again. Continuing with the news, Acadiana news. Hearing and killing of deaf woman delayed. Court awaits Capitol defenders before arraignment by Katie Gagliano, staff writer. The arraignment for Philip DeWoody, the man accused in the killing of a deaf Phil Platt grandmother and the kidnapping and rape of an Opelousas woman, was moved to April, while the court awaits involvement from Capitol defenders. DeWoody, 54, faces charges of first-degree murder, aggravated kidnapping, and first-degree rape in the homicide of 72-year-old Joyce Thomas and the assault of an Opelousas woman in February of 2020. Thomas's body was discovered in a wooded area of Interstate 49 in Grand Coteau 6 days after police said DeWoody picked her up from her apartment in Ville Platte. The first-degree murder charge carries the potential for the death penalty, which requires specialized representation. DeWoody's attorney, Ed Lopez, said he was assigned the case as a local caretaker and point of contact for prosecutors, but is not a certified capital defense attorney. He said DeWoody has been in contact with capital defenders in New Orleans, but does not yet have a capital defender assigned to his case by the Louisiana Public Defender Board. DeWoody's arraignment has been rescheduled to April 15th, and notice is being sent to the board to either appoint a capital defender to the case or appear and give reason why a capital defense attorney is unavailable for DeWoody's case, Lopez said. DeWoody did not appear in court on Thursday. The Opelousas woman DeWoody is accused of sexually assaulting, and family members were present for Thursday's hearing. DeWoody is accused of forcing the Opelousas woman into his vehicle near the intersection of Market and Foulard Streets on February 22nd, driving her out of town to an abandoned property and sexually assaulting her as she resisted and begged to go home, court documents say. DeWoody later returned the woman to the area where he abducted her. On February 26, an arrest affidavit says DeWoody picked Thomas up from her apartment complex on North Chantilly Street in Ville Platte. He text messaged and called her family with ransom demands. He was sending a video of Thomas inside an abandoned home. He issued threats against the family if they involved the police. DeWoody was questioned in the case after Thomas's disappearance and told investigators he left the woman at an area Walmart, which investigators disproved. Thomas's body was later found on property adjacent to the abandoned home where the ransom tape was filmed. She was covered in a chemical substance consistent with bleach, the arrest affidavit says. The abandoned property is the same location where DeWoody is accused of assaulting the Opelousas woman. DeWoody had been on parole for 8 months when the crimes occurred. He had prior criminal convictions for armed robbery, second-degree kidnapping, and aggravated escape, among other charges. He became eligible for parole under a 1990 geriatric parole law, which dictated offender sentence to 30 or more years and become eligible after serving at least 20 years and reaching age 45. All right, we'll take our first public service announcement break of the morning. Arch. Everyone should have shelter, and Louisiana nights are getting colder. They definitely are. Due to COVID-19 and concerns of community spread, there's been a dramatic decrease in available shelter beds. That means many experiencing homelessness may have no other option other than to sleep on the street. Throughout this pandemic, Acadiana Regional Coalition on Homelessness and Housing, or ARCH, has been able to utilize local hotel and motel rooms as a temporary housing solution. From there, case managers help our fellow Acadians transition to permanent housing. ARCH is very proud of their success in keeping those they serve safe from COVID-19 and on their way to long-term stability. However, the number of homeless is growing, and ARCH needs your help to get our neighbors out of the cold and into warm, safe housing. If you can help today, you can go to ARC Acadiana, that's ARCH Acadiana.org. If you prefer to give by check or donate by check, you can please mail your donation to ARCH, ARCH, P.O. Box 3936, Lafayette, Louisiana, 70502. All right, continuing with the Acadiana news, resurrected voting rights discussion begins March 10th by Claire Taylor, staff writer. The voting rights virtual book discussion canceled by the Lafayette Public Library Board begins March 10th, thanks to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette's Edith Garland Dupree Library. The Who Gets to Vote book discussion is funded by a grant through the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities. The UL Library was awarded the grant after the board of the Lafayette Public Library System declined the grant in January. Board members had 2 university professors selected to moderate the discussion were too left-leaning, and the library director, who has since retired, did not select a conservative moderator as they instructed. Some of the board members accuse the librarian and others of turning the voting rights book series into a political controversy with only one side represented. Some of the topics that could have been discussed included voting rights for convicted felons and voter suppression. The library board's decision drew strong reaction from library supporters and gained national news media attention. Some called for the resignations of 5 board members who voted to reject the grant. At a meeting scheduled for 5:15 p.m. Monday at the main library in downtown Lafayette, the library board is expected to appoint an interim library director to serve up to 6 months while a search is completed to replace Teresa Alberson, who retired days after the board rejected the grant. UL has scheduled 4 book discussions from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. between March 10th and March 31st on Zoom. Pearson Cross, a UL professor of political science, will facilitate the discussion on March 10th and 24th. Theodore Foster, an assistant professor of history at UL, will moderate on March 17th and the 31st. Foster was one of the 2 original moderators chosen when the board rejected the grant. The book discussion schedule includes, on March 10th, the book The Embattled Vote in America from the Founding to the Present by Alan J. Lichtman will be discussed. On March 17th, Vanguard, How Black Women Broke Barriers, Won the Vote, and Insisted on Equality for All by Martha S. Jones. March 24th, One Person, No Vote, How Voter Suppression is Destroying Our Democracy by Carol Anderson. And March 31st, Bending Toward Justice, the Voting Rights Act and the Transformation of American Democracy by Gary May. Participants are expected to discuss themes such as the expansion of voting rights since the country's founding, the electoral process, women's suffrage, and historic and contemporary voter suppression practices. The grant covers the cost of books for participants. The number of participants is limited. Spots will be assigned on a first-come, first-served basis. A waiting list will be available in case of dropouts. Those interested can register at 10 to 8, that's the number 2TO number 8, that's 10to8.com/book/PNSQXE-free. The Zoom link will be sent to participants 1 week before the discussion date. For those who are unable to register but wish to participate, the university will provide a simulcast on Debris Library's YouTube channel. Acadiana Open Channel, or AOC, Lafayette's Open Access Channel, has agreed to televise the discussions and live stream them to its YouTube channel. Who Gets to Vote is part of the Why It Matters civic and electoral participation initiative administered by the Federation of State Humanities Councils and funded by the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation. UL supporters for the book discussion series include the Department of History, the College of Liberal Arts, and the NAACP campus chapter. Community supporters include the Lafayette League of Women Voters and the Acadian Center for the Arts. Area, police investigate homicide after body found from the crime blotter put together by the Lafayette staff reports. The Breaux Bridge Police Department is investigating after a woman was found dead inside a residence on Wednesday. The woman was found in a home off Main Street about 1:45 p.m. Wednesday. Assistant Police Chief Terry Lachley said in a statement, "The death is being investigated as a homicide, but no other details about the cause of death or the investigation were provided." Mechanical failure cited in pool hall fire. Mechanical failure at Max's Pool Hall was responsible for a fire there Thursday, according to a statement from Lafayette Fire Department spokesperson Alton Trahan. Fire officials said the mechanical failure was with the heating, ventilating, and air conditioning unit on the roof of the business on Calais Saloon Road. The fire produced a lot of smoke, which filled both Max's Pool Hall and 2 adjacent businesses. The fire damage was minimal. Complaints of shots being fired addressed. Lafayette Parish Sheriff's deputies are partnering with the State Scott Police Department to address a recent uptick in reports of shots being fired near multiple Lafayette Parish neighborhoods. According to a sheriff's office spokesperson, a recent incident resulted in the arrest Monday of 23-year-old Deontay Smith. Smith was booked on account of illegal discharge of a firearm after deputies and Scott Police responded to a report of multiple shots being fired near the 100 block of Dorchester Street. Smith admitted in discharging a gun, and several shell casings were found at the scene, a spokesperson said. An increase in calls from residents referencing the sound of gunshots being heard throughout the area prompted Sheriff Mark Garber and Scott Police Chief Chad Leger to allocate the additional resources. Residents in the area who see or hear weapons being discharged are urged to report any and all information to local law enforcement by calling 911. Okay, we're at the somewhat of the midpoint in our reading this morning, and we usually kick it off with the day in history and follow that up with the zodiac, or the horoscope, as I like to call it for today. So today is Friday, February 19th. It's the 50th day of 2021. There are potentially 315 shopping days left in the year. Today's highlights in history: on February 19th, 1942, during World War II, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, which paved the way for the relocation and internment of people of Japanese ancestry, including U.S.-born citizens. Also on this date, Imperial Japanese warplanes raided the Australian city of Darwin. At least 243 people were killed. In 1807, former Vice President Aaron Burr, accused of treason, was arrested in the Mississippi Territory in present-day Alabama. Burr was acquitted at trial. Also on this date, in 1846, the Texas state government was formally installed in Austin, with J. Pinckney Henderson taking the oath of office as governor. In 1878, Thomas Edison received a U.S. patent for an improvement in phonograph or speaking machines. 1945 Operation Detachment began during World War II as some 30,000 U.S. Marines began landing on Iwo Jima, where they commenced a successful month-long battle to seize control of the island from Japanese forces. In 1968, the children's program Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, created by and starring Fred Rogers, made its network debut on National Education Television, a forerunner of PBS, beginning a 31-season run. In 1976, President Gerald R. Ford, calling the issuing of the internment order for people of Japanese ancestry in 1942 a sad day in American history, signed a proclamation formally confirming its termination. 1986, the U.S. Senate approved 83-11 the Genocide Convention, an international treaty outlawing acts committed with intention to destroy, or whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group, nearly 37 years after the pact was first submitted for ratification. In 2008, an ailing Fidel Castro resigned the Cuban presidency after nearly half a century in power. His brother Raul was later named to succeed him. In 2019, President Donald Trump directed the Pentagon to develop plans for a new space force within the Air Force, accepting less than the full-fledged department he had wanted. 10 years ago, security forces in Libya and Yemen fired on pro-democracy demonstrators as the two hardline regimes struck back against a wave of protests that had already toppled autocrats in Egypt and Tunisia. 5 years ago, Harper Lee, author of To Kill a Mockingbird, died in Monroeville, Alabama at the age of 89. 1 year ago, about 500 passengers left the Diamond Princess cruise ship in Japan at the end of a 2-week quarantine that failed to stop the spread of the coronavirus among passengers and crew. The number of confirmed cases aboard the ship topped 600. Looking at today's birthdays, Singer Smokey, not Smokey Singer. Singer Smokey Robinson from Smokey Robinson and the Miracles is 81 years old. Go Smokey. Singer Lou Christie is 78. Rock musician Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath and Heaven and Hell, 73. Author Amy Tan, 69. Actor Jeff Daniels, 66 today. Rock singer musician Dave Wakeling, 65. Actor Ray Winstone, 64. Actor Leslie David Baker, 63. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell is 62. Britain's Prince Andrew is 61. Singer Seal, 58. Rock musician John Fishman from the group Fish is 56. Actor Justine Bateman is 55. Actor Benicio del Toro is 54. Actor Bellamy Young, 51. And Christian rock musician Seth Morrison from the group Skillet is 33. Looking at our horoscope, we'll start with Aquarius, January 20th through February 19th. Take your time, listen carefully, and consider the effect your words will take on others. Getting along with others will be essential when you are trying to get things done. Pisces, February 20th to March 20th, put more energy into getting ahead. Connect with people who owe you a favor or those who have something to offer that will help you reach your goal. A positive change is heading your way. Aries, March 21st through April 19th. Be receptive to ideas presented to you. Something someone shares will set the foundation for a concept that can help provide insight into something you want to pursue. Follow your dreams. Taurus, April 20th through May 20th. Do whatever it takes to live up to your promises. It's what you accomplish, not what you talk about, that will ultimately turn heads. Show passion in all that you do. Gemini, May 21st to June 20th. You'll find a way to get what you want. Taking a backseat to someone trying to outdo you is not acceptable. You have plenty to offer, and it's time to strut your stuff and make things happen. Cancer, June 21st to July 22nd. Use your charm to get your way. A chance to show off will draw attention from someone who can give you the boost you need. Opportunity is within reach, but you must be willing to adapt. Leo, July 23rd through August 22nd. Settle into something that feels comfortable. It will ease stress and encourage you to follow a path that is more to your liking. Love and romance are on the rise. Virgo is my birth sign, August 23rd through September 22nd. Live in the moment, learn from experience, and pour your energy into something you find fulfilling. Taking a stroll down memory lane will be a good reminder of what you don't want to pursue. Libra, September 23rd through October 23rd. You're ready to take on the world. Let negativity go. Allow a positive attitude, new ideas, and the desire to make a difference lead the way. Your discipline and hard work will pay off. Scorpios, October 24th through November 22nd. Mixed emotions will get in the way of success. It will be easier to complete your responsibilities if you don't compartmentalize them. One step at a time is all it takes. Sagittarius, November 23rd through December 21st. The past will be your best reference when you want to move forwards or start something new. Don't rely on others when it's your insight that will point you in the right direction. Capricorn, stay on course. Don't deviate from your plan to let anyone push you in a direction you don't want to go. Change begins with you. Make decisions that will set you up for success. And as always, a horoscope is an entertainment feature, my friends. That's not based on scientific fact. On Fridays, we like to read at least one article from the entertainment side of things. So this morning's Friday article is Rock Outside, in parentheses, Music at Baton Rouge Beauvoir Park finds a pandemic niche, by John Ward, contributing writer. Despite the ongoing pandemic, the music has played on at Beauvoir Park in Baton Rouge, but not this weekend. Frigid temperatures have postponed two concerts, the Brass Heart Brass Band on Friday and Minos the Saints on Saturday. Both bands will be rescheduled for March, when the slate of acts will also feature the Grammy-winning Lost by Ramblers on March 12th, Slow Motion Cowboy and the Pine Hill Haints on March 13th, and Honey Island Swamp Band on March 19th. We've run into some weather issues here of late, but that's the nature of being in an outdoor venue, Jay Hover said. When weather becomes a threat, The decision about whether to postpone or go forward with a show is shared with the performers. If there's rain in the forecast, people tend to stay home, Hover said. But we made a decision based on what the band thinks, what our sound guy thinks, and what the radar looks like. We also try to give musicians a backup date. If we have to cancel, we can get them back on the books in a month or so. Hoover began booking music events at Boulevard Park in spring 2019. The mixed commercial use property at the Perkins Road overpass includes an outdoor stage and lawn that can accommodate a few hundred concertgoers. Boulevard Park's music series was well established before the coronavirus pandemic closed performance arts venues last year. Although its largest event, a festival held concurrently with the wearing of the Green Parade, was canceled, music at the park resumed in June. Knowing the advantage an outdoor space has over indoor venues, Hoover and Boulevard Park's owner, Leslie R. Bratton Jr., restarted concerts there. Operating at limited capacity, they sell about 130 tickets per show, about a fourth of normal capacity. Temperature checks are made at the entrance, and patrons are encouraged to spread out over the lawn. There's a need for live music, Hoover said. We're on to something. We want to keep it going, but we're still learning. We think 2021 could be a great year for us. Bill Davis, leader of the roots rock group Rip Rock, gave Boulevard Park a good review after his recent show there. Davis noted that most of the patrons wore masks and were considerate of others regarding distancing during the pandemic. It's a well-run outdoor venue with amazing folk art, Davis said. It's all ages, so everyone can come rock out. Some longtime fans brought their kids. You can't do that at a bar. And the lights, stage, and production are top-notch. It's like a manship theater in your backyard. While the pandemic lingered, indoor concert venues, the Manship Theater and Mid-City Ballrooms presented concerts at Boulevard Park. Before it regularly featured music, Bratton rented and continues to rent the Boulevard Park stage and lawn for weddings, graduations, and birthday parties. The green space there now, however, was covered by debris for many years after the site subsequently served as a gravel-top parking area. Branton, a professional landscaper, poured 5 loads of river silt on it and planted grass and trees. He also cleared and replanted the adjacent area alongside the railroad tracks. We recaptured the area little by little, transforming it from a garbage heap, Branton said. Hoover Park lawn backs up against the building that housed Chelsea's Cafe until 2019. Branton built the park stage from cypress logs and wood salvaged from Chelsea's smokehouse area. I took some of the good vibe essence that was part of Chelsea's, he said. Hoover, knowing how crippled the concert business is during the pandemic, is courting acts that normally would be out of his league. Prospective Boulevard Park acts include Louisiana stars George Porter Jr. and Dumps the Funk. Bands are hungry to get back on the road, Hoover said. Could offer them a safe environment in which to dip their toes back into touring. And if musicians say we're going here, we'll think that they'll want to come back. We've got great fans and great music. Hoover is also dedicated in keeping the lineup eclectic. We don't want to pigeonhole ourselves by booking blues or country week in and week out, he said. There's a wealth of talent out there. We plan to continue to draw from New Orleans, and there's so much young Baton Rouge talent. For concert updates, you can visit facebook.com Boulevard Park, that's BEAUVOIR Park, or prekindle.com, that's prekindle, KINDLE.com. Okay, now turning to the state news for this Friday. State expands vaccine eligibility. Winter storm hampers distribution by Sam Carlin, staff writer. With severe winter weather still hobbling Louisiana's vaccine effort, Governor John Bel Edwards said Thursday that he will expand eligibility for the vaccine to nearly 500,000 additional people, including K-12 teachers and staff, after the federal government promised an increased allotment of doses in the coming weeks. The decision will test the state's ability to administer larger volumes of doses, an ability already being put to the test by the winter storm, which delayed the shipments of tens of thousands of doses of vaccines this week. Thousands of appointments are being rescheduled for the next week, at the same time the new groups will become eligible. It is going to be as smooth as it would have been if we hadn't had this winter weather event this week. Probably not, Edwards said. In addition to teachers and support staff who work in any school or daycare in the state, public or private, all pregnant women and non-emergency medical transportation workers will have access to the vaccine. People will also be able to get shots if they are between the ages of 55 and 64 and have one of several specific health conditions: cancer, chronic kidney disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, Down syndrome, heart conditions, immune compromised state from solid organ transplant, obesity, sickle cell disease, and type 2 diabetes. Smokers in that age range will also have access. People will have to fill out a form attesting to have one of these conditions to get the shots, Edwards said. The decision comes 2 weeks after Edwards expanded eligibility to include people 65 and older. That added 275,000 people to the population eligible to get vaccinated. With the addition of nearly 500,000 people Monday, roughly 1.6 million of the state's 4.6 million residents, and just over 1 in 3, will be eligible. Teacher groups and school officials for months have prodded the governor, a Democrat who counts teachers and unions as close allies, to include them in the priority group for vaccines. But the governor hesitated, citing a lack of supply. Next week, the state is expecting more than 90,000 doses, an increase from previous weeks. And Edwards said President Joe Biden's administration has promised that there will be a floor for the coming 3 weeks. Some of the increase is because of an accounting change the federal government made at the request of Pfizer. Providers were often getting 6 doses out of vials that were originally thought to have 5. So the government is now counting the extra dose in each vial. The governor said the uptick allowed him to expand eligibility. Still, demand is expected to outstrip supply, as it has since January 1st, when people 70 and older began to have access. Further complicating things, providers from Shreveport to New Orleans reported delays in shipments and postponed vaccine appointments this week after storms gathered roads with ice and effectively shut down much of the state. Morris & Dixon, the Shreveport-based distributor hired by the state to take in large shipments from manufacturers and dole them out in smaller quantities around Louisiana, hadn't received any shipments since last week, said Paul Dixon Jr., the vice president of operations. He said the packages were being held up by FedEx and UPS. The Biden administration briefed Edwards and other governors earlier this week on the delays, saying airport traffic are ground to a halt in some places, and that employees of the drug makers had difficulty getting to manufacturing facilities to process packages. Dr. Joe Cantor, the state health officer, said it will likely take a week or 2 before providers have to catch up. Louisiana has been administering an average of 22,969 doses of vaccines per day in February. Over the past 3 days, that number dropped to under 10,000, according to state health department figures. We're going to have to double up next week as best we can in terms of the number of doses we can administer in the state of Louisiana, Cantor said. We're really going to be asking a lot of our vaccine providers next week. He added that people should get their first or second dose even if the appointment was delayed because of weather. At Ochsner Health System in New Orleans, Don Peavy, an executive in charge of distribution, said 1,100 doses of Moderna's vaccine scheduled to arrive this week hadn't made it as of Thursday. That means 1,100 appointments will have to be moved to next week, she said. Plus, the no-show rate for scheduled appointments is up from under 1% normally to around 3% this week, she said, likely because roads were treacherous in places. While the system's South Louisiana campuses received doses of Pfizer's vaccine, Ochsner's facilities in North Louisiana haven't yet, she added. LSU Health Shreveport, in partnership with Christius Health Shreveport Bossier and Willis Knighton Health System, had been doing about 1,500 shots a day at a drive-up community vaccination site. That was shut down Monday because of the storm, said LSU Health spokesperson Lisa Babin, and won't resume until next week. That means about 5,000 doses that would have gone into arms this week are delayed until next week, she said. Similar sites in rural parts of the state. This week, providers were scheduled to administer shots in Minden and Natchitoches were also shut down. Everyone is encouraged not to be on the roads, Babin said. People just aren't equipped. They're not experienced driving in this weather. Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center in Baton Rouge closed Monday and Tuesday because of weather, but resumed shots Wednesday, said spokesperson Ryan Cross. The hospital system will work through the weekend to inoculate people scheduled to get their dose this week, he said. The State Department of Health has planned to hold a vaccination clinic on Friday and Saturday in North Baton Rouge as part of an effort to reach more people in Black communities, but that was delayed until later this month, the agency said in a news release. Lake Charles Memorial Health System also canceled vaccine appointments early this week as the winter storms pummeled that area. A spokesperson, Matt Felder, said Thursday that vaccine appointments had resumed and that the hospital had enough doses to complete them. Asked whether he concerns that delayed appointments will create a bottleneck when another 500,000 people become eligible on Monday, Edwards said he had enough concerns to keep me awake every single night. He said health department leaders advised him it was the right time to expand the pool of eligible people, so he did. At the same time, he asked people to be patient. Understand the providers are having to juggle a number of balls in the air as they reschedule the doses they were unable to administer this week, Edwards said. We may have to be open later at night, we may have to do more weekend events, and that sort of thing. Teachers and other people who work at K-12 schools will go through the same process that older adults have navigated to get their shots. That involves poring over a list of providers with vaccines posted on the health department website each Monday and calling or going online to try to schedule an appointment. Providers have said the pace of calls rises dramatically when eligibility is expanded, which can cause long wait times for patients. Teachers and other leaders praise the move. More than 2 months ago, State Superintendent of Education Kate Brumley asked the governor and others to make about 166,000 teachers and school support personnel a priority for the vaccine. This signifies the value of our essential employees and will enable even more Louisiana centers and schools to be fully open to serve students, families, and communities, Brumley said. A total of 67% of public school students are attending in-person classes, while 20% are relying on virtual instruction and 13% are getting a combination of virtual and in-person. Brumley said the State Department of Education will not push teachers and others to get the vaccine and that ensuring access was his goal. This is a very personal decision for everyone across the state, Brumley told reporters. We don't intend to take a position on whether or not an employee should or should not get the vaccine, Brumley said, based on conversation with school leaders. It seems like somewhere around half of employees throughout the state have indicated an interest in receiving the vaccine. And to reiterate and reinform some of the eligibility requirements that the state now offers for COVID-19 vaccination, teachers, support staff working on site in K-12 schools and daycares are eligible. All pregnant people, non-emergency medical transportation providers and staff, and people age 55 to 64 with one or more health conditions, including cancer, chronic kidney disease, COPD, Down syndrome, heart conditions, immune-compromised state for solid organ transplant, obesity, sickle cell disease, smoking, and type 2 diabetes. Next story up in our state news, a real struggle. Already reeling from hurricanes, Lake Charles dealing with water pressure, snow woes, by Andrea Gallo and Ken Stickney, staff writers. Lake Charles. The latest challenge to daily life in the Lake Charles area is water pressure. Several officials in that beleaguered southwest Louisiana said this week. Well, one of many challenges. Because of the demand and so many people dripping water, we are having a real struggle getting water pressure built up, said Thomas Hoffer, spokesperson for Calcasieu Parish government. That's made a dramatic impact on operations and public buildings. Battered twice by hurricanes last year, the parish of 200,000 residents has struggled to recover from Hurricane Laura's 150-mile-per-hour winds and Hurricane Delta's 20 inches of rain. Now they are dealing with the inability to shower or flush toilets because water systems are compromised by the freezing weather. Parish government buildings were unable to open Thursday and were likely to remain closed Friday because of water pressure issues that had plagued the whole community this week. Calcasieu Parish had numerous water systems, Hoffer said, and they were all struggling to generate adequate pressure. There was more. All non-emergency surgeries were stopped at Christus Ochsner's St. Patrick and Lake area hospitals. The hospital's emergency rooms remain open, while staff plan to stand up various medical services throughout Thursday if possible. Water pressure problems have led to widespread closures of health centers, but Christus Ochsner centers are expected to reopen at 10 a.m. Friday, contingent on water pressure issues from the municipal system, a news release said. Jim Davidson, president and CEO of Christus Ochsner Health Southwestern Louisiana, said the safety of patients and their staff is most important. We are working through the struggles presented by this historic winter weather event in our community, Davidson said in a statement on Thursday. Operational plans are in place to navigate water pressure issues from the municipal system and weather-related challenges affecting our entire area. Lake Charles Memorial Hospital paused elective surgeries and procedures amid water pressure problems, but the hospital opens to resume them Friday, said spokesperson Matt Felder. They also expect to reopen several other parts of the hospital and some clinics on Friday. Felder said as of Thursday, water pressure was still low inside the hospital, but staff used lessons from last year's destructive hurricanes to maintain operations. The hospital is having water trucked in from water treatment plants and other places, pumping it into system and cleaning it to make it usable for hospital operations. Governor John Bell Edwards said Thursday the state was working on setting up bottled water distribution sites in Lake Charles because of the widespread water pressure issues. Edwards said water is being shuttled to hospitals, including by using water capacity in fire trucks to ensure that they have enough water to operate. Edwards described the logistical problem of keeping water pressure up in Lake Charles as very, very challenging, noting that problems with the water system have lingered since the damage from the hurricanes. And now we turn to sports. Cajun softball waiting on deck, weather continuing to wreak havoc on the schedule by Kevin Foote, sports and staff writer for The Advocate. Just getting a little bit of extra rest, and then there's the break the number 8 ranked UL Raging Cajun softball team is hoping to end soon. Originally scheduled to open the season last Friday, it was pushed back a day, and then the opening weekend Louisiana Classics event in Lamson Park was totally canceled. Coach Jerry Glasgow's club was then supposed to play Lamar on Tuesday, but that was called off because of inclement weather. The University of Alabama at Birmingham Green and Gold Classic at noon Friday against Southeastern would have been next, but that was canceled as well. The current plan calls for UL to play its first game on the 2021 season against Jacksonville State at 12:30 p.m. Saturday in Birmingham. The Cajuns would then play UAB at 5:30 p.m. Saturday, followed by the Sunday doubleheader of Southeastern at 10 a.m. and UAB again at 3. We wanted to play. We were ready to play, so this has really changed our course, Glasgow said. We'll see how it affects us when we get on the field. It's a kind of uncharted territory for me. As a coach, I've never lost an opening weekend. Quite possibly softball will begin its season before baseball does for the first time ever. But while the anxiety meter is now on an all-time high for the program's players and fans, Glasgow isn't turning his nose up at the extended rest. We're just using this time to try to get some rest, he said. It's going to do us a little bit of good. We were pretty tired, actually, from all the scrimmages we've had on the field over the last 2 weeks prior to last weekend. I do feel like some of our pitchers were actually tired. We played a lot of scrimmage games trying to get back in the mode to compete after being off for 11 months. I think that week off will actually, down the road, help us having a little bit of rest going into the season. The Cajuns took batting practice each day and did get a brief scrimmage during the week to prepare for the tournament at UAB. On Monday, Glasgow confirmed UL won't be at full strength this weekend. For one, Arizona transfer outfielder Gina Keene isn't expected to be available, and although South Carolina transfer pitcher outfielder Carly Heath is back at practice after COVID, it was difficult for her physically to recover from. Other potential outfielders, Kendall Talley, Morgan Gray, and Carrie Boswell, won't be available this weekend. Neither will freshman shortstop Kaylee Sand. Even if the list increases, UL's roster should be deep enough to handle it. We're really fortunate when you have key players out and you look at the lineup and think, well, we're still really good, Glasgow said. It's a huge advantage, I think, and a really fortunate time in our program to have that. We know we're going to have a lot of changes and things occur throughout the season. This is a year we want to set a really higher standard, so hopefully we'll still have enough players on the available roster to play at a really high level. Keene's absence would typically leave UL with 3 seasoned starters in Sierra Bryan in left, Raina O'Neill in center, and Kendall Talley in right. But with Talley not available, Glasgow will need to test out his utility core right away. Such utility players as Frankie Izzard, Justice Mills, and Melissa Mayu could also be options. In fact, Glasgow said Mayu could play every position except pitcher. She looks so good offensively, he said. We want to get her on the field as much as we can. Another option could be moving freshman first baseman Kayla Roman back to the outfield. We had her out there a few times this spring, Glasgow said. She's really making strides defensively at first base, so I'm trying to keep her at first base all I can. I think she enjoys being on the infield. I liked her on the infield. It gives us a dominating presence with her out there. Our infielders are learning to play to her strengths and throw the ball high. They have the luxury of really letting the ball rip. They don't have to worry about our first baseman's head. While UL hasn't played yet, University of Alabama at Birmingham is off, or UAB is off to a 3-2 start with losses to Troy and Ole Miss and wins over Ole Miss and Belmont. He, the UAB head coach and former UL assistant Joe Guthrie, has got some assistance from Auburn helping him with that program, Glasgow said. They're really going to turn that program around over the next 2 years. We're looking forward to that. We know they're going to give us a good test. And finally, in today's broadcast, we'll look at the area funerals in Acadiana for today. Alan Chason at St. John the Evangelist Church, 914 St. John Street in Lafayette at 10 a.m. Joseph Dugas, Walter's Funeral Home at 10 a.m. Alton Landry at Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church at 11 a.m. And Carrie Messina, St. George Catholic Church at 11 a.m. Well, this has been Local News Live for February 19th, 2021. I've been your reader, Bruce Cohen. You can join us every morning at 9 a.m., Monday through Friday, on AOC1, Cypress Street Radio, which is our online streaming radio service, or the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube. You can read these stories and more at theadvocate.com and find out how to volunteer and more at our website. Just go to aocinc.org. That's aocinc.org. Look at the volunteer page, pull down the tab, go to the newspaper reading volunteer program, contact Mr. Matt or Miss Mandy. They will instruct you on how it works. And as I've said earlier in the broadcast, since last March, maybe almost a year now, we've been the readers have been volunteering their services from their home studios, like myself, even all the way over here on the east coast of Georgia. So I wish you have a great day. And this is Bruce. Will always be Bruce. Please stay healthy, stay safe, especially with the conditions that are happening in your area. Not so much in my area right now, but their area there in Lafayette and throughout Louisiana is in pretty bad shape right now weather-wise. So just stay safe, stay home. I know it's been a long, long struggle, but just hang in there, do it together, and just be smart, folks. Just be smart. I just saw an article that says it's not time to really be, even with the vaccinations, to be smart about doubling up on masks, distancing, not going into inside crowded spaces with people who are not wearing masks. Just be smart. Be smart so we can cut down the transference of this terrible virus that's out there. So again, have a great day, have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the flip-flop.